The Courland Pocket was an area of the Courland Peninsula where Army Group North of Germany was cut off and surrounded by the Red Army for almost a year, lasting from July 1944 until May 10, 1945. On October 9, 1944, the Soviet forces reached the Baltic Sea near Memel after overrunning the headquarters of the 3rd Panzer Army. As a result, Army Group North was cut off from East Prussia. Hitler's military advisors, notably Heinz Guderian, the chief of the German General Staff, urged evacuation and utilization of the troops to stabilize the front in Central Europe. However, Hitler refused, and ordered the German forces in Courland and the Estonian islands to hold out, believing them necessary to protect German submarine bases along the Baltic coast. Hitler still believed the war could be won, and hoped that Donit's new Type 21 submarine technology could bring victory to Germany in the Battle of the Atlantic, forcing the Allies out of Western Europe. This would allow German forces to focus on the Eastern Front, using the Courland Pocket as a springboard for a new offensive. Hitler's refusal to evacuate the army group resulted in the entrenchment of more than 200,000 German troops, largely of the 16th Army and 18th Army, in what was to become known to the Germans as the Courland bridgehead. 33 divisions of the Army Group North were cut off from East Prussia and spread out along a front reaching from Riga to Liepaja, retreating to the more defensible Courland position, abandoning Riga. Stalin had initially been intent on destroying the German forces in Courland, reporting in September 1944 that he was mopping up in the Baltics, and in November, that the Germans were now being hammered to a finish. As late as March 1945, Stalin was still making claims that German forces in Courland would soon be defeated. This victory was necessary, in Stalin's eyes, to re-establish Soviet control over its 1941 frontiers following the annexation of the Baltic states. Soviet forces launched 6 major offensives against the German and Latvian forces entrenched in the Courland Pocket between October 15, 1944 and April 4, 1945. The Soviets launched 6 offensives to defeat Army Group Courland. Throughout the campaign against the Courland Pocket, Soviet forces did not advance more than 25 miles anywhere along the front, ending no more than a few kilometers forward of their original positions after 7 months of conflict. The Soviet operations were hampered by the difficult terrain and bad weather. The German Army Group reported inflicting heavy losses on the Soviets. However, in the absence of heavy weaponry and a near-total lack of air support, total German casualties in Courland were heavy as well, and estimated to be over 150,000. The withdrawal of Soviet units starting from December 1944 indicates that the Soviet command did not consider Courland to be as important as other sectors of the Eastern Front. Destroying the German forces there was not worth the effort, and the goal was now to keep them from breaking out. The next 3 offensives were most likely intended to prevent the evacuation of German troops by sea. By the start of April 1945, the Soviets viewed the German forces in Courland as not much more than self-supporting prisoners. One of the best German units inside the pocket was the Assault Gun Battalion 912. It was founded in Jüterbog on March 1, 1943 with a staff and 3 assault gun batteries. In mid-October 1944, the unit was driven into the Courland Pocket with the rest of the German Army Group North. In 1944 the battalion and its batteries took part in the first 3 Courland battles. They basically acted as a fire brigade. They were constantly relocated to the most dangerous sectors of the pocket. In the last month of the war the unit was also known as the Brandner Brigade. Captain Joseph Brandner was the last commander of the assault gun unit. He was awarded with the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross for his actions during the fighting in Courland. On the first day of the Third Battle of Courland, 21st of December, 1944, he and his brigade smashed a Soviet armored spearhead aimed against the Frauenburg Road, destroying 26 tanks within a short time. At the time the brigade was attached to the 11th Infantry Division. Brandner himself had reconnoitered the terrain on the day before and so was able to position his assault gun in ideal positions for the Soviet attack. He and his unit went on to distinguish themselves in the 4th and 5th battles of Courland. Brandner himself destroyed his 57th tank in the 4th battle, and in the 5th he and his unit closed off a frontline gap with the support of the 205 Infantry Division. He was also awarded with the Oak Leaves during the 6th Battle of Courland while operating south of Frauenburg. The awarding of the Oak Leaves is according his own testimony. Although there are photos known with him wearing the Eichenlaub, no official confirmation is known. Based on the presumed date of awarding, this should be the 846th award, however numbering of the officially known awards had stopped after the 843rd award. After the Second World War, Brandner served in the Austrian army. On 8 May 1945, Germany's head of state and President Karl Donitz ordered Colonel General Karl Hilpert, the army group's last commander, to surrender. Hilpert, his personal staff, and staffs of 3 armies surrendered to Marshal Leonid Govorov, the commander of the Leningrad Front. At this time, the group still consisted of the remnants of 27 divisions and 1 brigade. On May 8, General Otto Friedrich Rosser succeeded in obtaining better surrender terms from the Soviet command. On May 9, the Soviet Commission started to interrogate the captive staff of Army Group Courland, and general collection of prisoners began. By May 12, approximately 135,000 German troops surrendered in the Courland pocket, including 28 generals and 5,083 officers, and taken to camps in the Soviet interior and imprisoned or years. On May 23, the Soviet collection of the German troops in the Courland pocket was completed. A total of about 180,000 German troops were taken into captivity from the Baltic area. Current scholarship puts the count of those surrendering at about 189,112 Germans, including 42 generals, among them Karl Hilpert, who died in Soviet captivity in 1947, and approximately 14,000 Latvians. In the post-war Soviet accounts, the Red Army's actions in Courland were defensive blocking operations. Hostilities consisted of containing German breakout attempts, and the Red Army made no concerted effort to capture the Courland pocket, which was of little strategic importance after the isolation of Army Group North, whereas the main offensive effort was required for the Vistula-Oder and Berlin offensives. Soviet forces suffered correspondingly low casualties. A modern Russian research indicates a total of 160,948 Soviet casualties between February 16 and May 8, 1945. According to the Russian historians, Courland was a peripheral front for both the Soviets and Germans. The Soviet goal was to prevent the German troops there from being transported by sea to reinforce the defense of Berlin. Soviet operations intended to further isolate and also destroy the enemy, but the strength of the attacking troops was too low to make any significant progress in the difficult terrain. The Soviet commanders worked competently, and as a result the reported casualties were low. Shortly after the war, the Soviet authorities detained all males between the ages of 16 and 60, and conducted widespread deforestation campaigns, burning tracts of forest to flush out resistors. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and to make sure you don't miss my future work, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel and press the bell notification button. Thank you, and see you in the next video.